in Arizona. Hope you're having a super fantastic sparkling day. Welcome to Before the Dirt Nap podcast number 1970. Wow, another round number. Oops. Common genealogy mistakes. So last night we unfortunately had technical. Come back here, Zeffy. I'm keep a close eye on her. You want a treat? I have treats. And she knows it and she's running away. Come on, come here. There you go, good girl. So last night we had some technical issues, and then I had a dog that was insistent on going outside, and she absolutely needed to go outside. So we got that taken care of. So we only got through 2 of the 11 common errors that genealogists make. And it's just not just professional genealogists. There's also the hobby. We've got the angels in the house again. The hobby genealogist as well. Anybody, these are common mistakes. So last night we talked about the first 2, which was the same name, but not necessarily the same person, and about adding other people's information. Sit. Good girl. Sorry, I'm running out of treats. Good girl. You gonna lay down? Lay down. Lay down. If you could see this. So can I put my hand down like this and she brushes my hand with her paw? It's so cute. Like, she's got the farts at the moment. Here you go. Ready? Up in the chair. Over in the chair. Up. Over there. Go get it. Go get it. Oh my gosh. It's in the chair. Zeffy's not very good with directions. Zeffy. Over there. What's there? Go look in the chair. Go look on your chair. It's gone. Go look in the chair. No, she'll figure it out. She'll follow the smell. There she goes. She's pretty good at finding things. Anyway, so adding information from other people's trees without verifying it first. So again, the first 2 were the same name, and the other one was adding information from other people's tree when you haven't verified the information. And we also talked about some of the fixes as well. I'm not lifting those books up again. Then number 3, we've got the numbers don't lie, but people researching family trees can misinterpret them. Ever notice that great-grandma gave birth at the ripe old age of 3? These are true stories. I have come across various trees where, and in fact, even in my own tree, I have got a great uncle, and everybody in the family keeps telling me, "Oh, this is who his father is." The problem is that the father died 6 years before my great uncle was born. So and when I questioned that side of the family and said, well, hang on, he can't be that guy's father. And they're like, why not? I said, because he was born in 1910, but his dad died in 1906. It was 4 years. Sorry, 4 years. Died in 1906, and haven't heard another word from them. So make sure you're watching for things like that because even if you're going in Ancestry and you add somebody in where the birth date doesn't, like if the son's birth date was before the mother was born or was after she had died, or the same with the father, the system will tell you. So pay attention to those. Use a good calendar and calculator. There is a one that I use that is called Date and Time Calculator. I don't know the exact website. I just Google date and time calendar, and I can put in the start date and the end date, and it tells me what the days are in between, which is how I can keep track of the fact that I'm now on day 1970. I occasionally go into there and I verify the numbers every now and again. So you want to good that, and check the years in your head as well. Subtract. He was born in 1870, but she was born in 1860. Yeah, it's only a 10-year difference. I don't think so. Create timelines for each individual. So have the mother's timeline, have her children's timelines next to her, and see if there's any discrepancies there. Pay attention to historical context. Maybe that she was a teenage bride. Maybe she did have a child when she was 16 years old. You never know. And times have changed. And when was she expected to get married? At what age? If you ever watched Pride and Prejudice, they've got a 16-year-old that gets married. So be aware of those. Also be aware of different calendar systems. We work on which one are we on now? The Julian calendar, and it used to be the Gregorian calendar. And the Gregorian calendar, and because it never made sense to me that September is for 9, is for 7, October is 8, and I was like, why are these, and December is 10. Why are these dates off. And that's when I learned that we used to have two different calendar systems and there was an overlap. And I can't remember the years of the overlap, but pay attention to those. Also, make sure that don't forget about leap years. They will add in extra days as well onto the calendars and things. And I don't know when leap year started, so you'd have to Google that one. Consider cultural practices. So some cultures, they would have these child brides that would have babies when they were teenagers. So look at what's the culture that they were in, and be cautious with estimated dates. Sometimes when you're looking at a census report, they are going off the information of the person who provided the information. So when you're doing when the census report came in and the enumerator was there, if somebody wasn't home, the next door neighbor says, "Oh, what information do you want about that family? I can tell you all of that." They may give the wrong birth, they may give the wrong ages, which then the census will then say about 1870, when in actual fact they were born in 1868. There's that discrepancy there. Also to our military records, when you're looking at World War I and World War II records, watch the birth dates, because they may not match up with the birth dates that you have, because the men lied about their age so that they could go off and fight. They didn't want to be left at home. These teenage boys did not want to be left at home, so they added years onto their life. They may have been 14 or 15 or 16, and I think the age was 18. So they gave their birth date as an 18-year-old, and off they went to war. So you will find discrepancies. So watch for those. And estimated dates, I always, if I'm not sure, but I know it was around that time, I will take it was around 1850-ish. I might have, which means it could be 1847, it could be 1853. So let's go 5 years either side of 1850 and see what we can find, which is what I did with my third or fourth great grandfather, trying to find him. So just remember to keep an eye on dates and remember the distance between them, and take some of those things into account when you're looking at these. And just remember that sometimes people lied about their age, or they may not have known how old they actually were. Yes, I have run across that too. So you do have that as well. You've also got the other one is the translation trap. International research, you're going to come across documents that are written in a different language. You're going to find that, some in transcription, somebody had wrote, gone from being a baker to an undertaker. Let's go have a look at the original doc. So when you see this and you're like, well, hang on, I thought this guy was a baker, and this census is saying they're an undertaker. What's going on here? Click on the image and blow up the image where it says the occupation for your ancestor, and have a look to see. Maybe it was transcribed incorrectly. There is an awesome book, this one here, that's called Reading Early American Handwriting. And this is a really great resource, because it will show you that sometimes when it looks like a cursive F, it is actually a small S. Yes, that's one of my favorite ones. So I have what I've got flagged here. Oh, and then there were abbreviations that they would put in as well. I'm just trying to see if I can find really quickly. Yeah, and they even give you examples like, this is what was originally written, and this is the transcription over here. So it shows you how to do that. But notice on here that, I don't know if let's see if we can get this. Dang it. Okay. Some of them have like these square brackets around it. It's because what's happened is that whoever transcribed this may not have transcribed it correctly. So somebody else went through, they had another look at this and then came over here and they put words in square brackets. And that is the person who is reading the transcription later on, goes into here and finds that it's a different thing. Or they're putting like information in there. Just trying to see real quick what that one is for. May 16th. Oh, hang on, May 21st. October 13th. Okay, so what they've done is that they've added in information. Like on the transcription here, it would have the place name, but it wouldn't have what county it was in. So somebody's then gone through when they're transcribing it, and they've put the square brackets on here and then put the county in there, so you know where the county is, that these were all done. Because sometimes, in marriages, you need to know this information. What county did they come from? What county did they get married in? They may not have got married in the same county that they were living in. You never know. So when you see the square brackets, it could be they have made a spelling correction to the original transcription. They have made, they've provided extra information in there, like they've got a city name but no county. So they've put the county in there just to give you extra information. So if you see the square parentheses, there's a correction or an addition added in there. But this book is really, really good. This was another textbook I had to use in one of the classes that I had, where we actually got to transcribe writing, and it was yeah, they just got, I mean, they go right back, way back, because this one that's got there, where was I should have bookmarked it first. We used to get to see the little S that looks like an F, but they're in there anyway. So this is a really good book for early American. It can also help you transcribe some of the English ones as well, because I have noticed that when I'm looking at certain dates, that at certain documents written in certain eras, that the handwriting between America and England can be very similar, because it was the era that they were going through. I mean, I've come across documents over here in the States, and I'm like, looked at it and go, well, that looks like my mother's handwriting. So, you know, things. So we'll put that book down there. All right, get that one off the thing. So yeah, so that's an awesome book for that. When it comes to doing translations, so that's translating from a transcript into written form that you can actually read it. So it's transcribing. So yes, you will get things in there. When they are writing out things too, accents come into play. When you had a lot of immigrants coming in, some of them had broken English, some of them spoke English well, but had with a heavy accent. So it depends on what the enumerator heard at the time as well. That Baker could have been written down as Undertaker because of the accent. So there is that as well. So talking about linguistic minefields, find a good translation program. I have used Google Translation in the past, and I said to the family that I was doing the thing, I said, this is a very loose translation. I said, I don't speak Spanish. I don't read Spanish. So I put it into Google Translate, and this is what it came back with. I also had a document from familysearch.org that gave me all of the common genealogy terms, like mother, father, brother, sister, aunt, uncle, cousins, you know, that part, and then the months, the days, the years, and how they were written out, occupations, different occupations and things like that, just general genealogy terms on marriage, birth, and death. So when I was going through some of these documents, I could look at the list, and it was Spanish, not Latin American Spanish, but Spain Spanish. But it still helped. And I was able to pick out the mother, the fathers, and all of that sort of thing. And I could pick out which were marriage documents. And these would be like pages of transcript. And I have to tell you, some of the people that wrote this stuff had the most beautiful handwriting you will ever see. It was absolutely gorgeous handwriting for whoever was writing out all the information in the parish records. They had gorgeous, gorgeous handwriting. Made it very easy to transcribe the information. Then yes, I did put it into Google Translate, but people say don't use it, just don't. But I didn't have any other program at the time that I could use. Now you've got all the AI tools out there that you can pop stuff into and say, please put this into English for me. And a lot of times, sometimes they're able to do it, sometimes they're not. But it's, again, you've got to transcribe first and then copy and paste into a translation program of some sort for it to then work it out. And sometimes I would sit there with the translator, and as I'm trying to figure out some of the handwriting, and I was like, well, maybe that's and one way that I got taught how to do this was to take like a pen or a pencil, put it on a piece of paper, and as my eyes follow the lines, my hand follows that to see if it made it clearer. Somebody else turned around and said, print it off, put tracing paper over top, and trace the handwriting. And I'm like, ooh, that actually works really good too. So yeah, that's another way that you can do that too. And if you're doing something like, if you're translating documents that are in German, you got German documents, Italian, French, Spanish, and all of that, learn the key terms. Now, I was fortunate that familysearch.org had a Spanish document, that a PDF file that had all the genealogy terms in there, and I was able to do that. It was just all the little fill-in pieces after that. that I had the problems with. Yes, I did use Google Translate, and I sent it off to the family and said, look, this is a very loose translation. It's done through Google Translate. I don't have any other program that I know of that I can translate Spanish in. And I said, but here's what was written. So they had the transcription, they had the translation, and then they could turn around and say, oh yeah, we get the gist. So as long as it gave them the idea of what had happened in that, and then they were able to go and because they both read Spanish, they were able to go through the transcription and transcribe it correctly. And they said, and on some of them they said, actually, Google Translation did a great job on that. And I was like, but learn key genealogy terms in the languages that you are searching for records. I have documents from my mother-in-law that are written that were from Lithuania, Ukraine, and Russia and Germany. So thankfully, she has translations for most of them. Somebody's translated them for her. So I'm grateful for that. But these are the original document. These are original documents or copies of originals. So yeah. So use reputable translation dictionaries as well to help you find those words that you need. Find a friend or a professional translator who speaks the language that you are trying to translate. A lot of times that they are very helpful with that. I've got friends who, I've since had friends who speak Spanish, and I said to them, can you just read through this for me and see if it sounds right and what it actually is? And they've been like, oh yeah, this is a marriage between this person, and this is their parents, her parents, blah, 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 blah. So I was like, great, thank you. So yeah, so be aware of that, and also be aware too that regional dialects and historical language changes over time. So what might have been a word that was used back then may not be used now, might be used in a different context. So you need to have somebody who is aware of that as well. So just use that to assist you with translations. Transcribe the handwriting first, then work on the translations. Assumptions. Oh my gosh. Number 5 is assumptions. Oh, I'm making an ass out of you and me, but that's okay. That's what I was always taught about that. Don't ask me why. Assumptions, they're like termites in genealogy. And that's making things like, well, this is an unusual surname, so they must be related. No. Another one could be that the woman always took the husband's name back then. Not necessarily. It depends on the culture. In some cultures, which I found out in the Mexican, when I was reading the Mexican documents, is that the woman maintained her maiden name, and the child got a hyphenated name. They got the maiden name of the mother and the father's name. I learned that one when I was translating the documents. So yes, so be aware of things like that, and also don't think that people didn't travel far in those days. I mean, there was a lot of people that traveled great distances. You've got all those that immigrated from England, Ireland, and Scotland, and Wales, and Cornwall to the US, to Canada, to New Zealand, to Australia. I mean, that's halfway around the world. You got the Vikings who settled Scotland. You've got the Ashkenazi Jews who have spread out throughout the world from where they started. There's a ton of traveling in there. So don't expect, oh, well, they're all in this little area. Yeah. I've made those assumptions as well. There's one family that I'm following that are in a particular area. Even in my own family, the Eakins came from the Huntingdonshire area, which is a very small area. But next to that was Northumberland and Cambridge. And so did they travel in there? Most likely, yeah, because I've got relatives in Rounds, Northumberland, and I've got relatives who were in Cambridge as well. And even people from Huntingdonshire went down to London, and that's where my great-grandfather was born, in London. So, and they came from Huntingdonshire down to, people will move. Was it common for them to move as much as we do today? It depends on the time and where they were coming from. So, but if you get a piece of information, question everything, even things you know to be true. Question them just to make sure that they are actually true. This is why when we're researching, we have this question that we want to answer, and everything that we're looking for, all the records, all the research that we're doing is either to prove or disprove this question, the answer to this question. Is John Smith and Anne Jones the parents of Peter Smith? And you would have their birth dates, their birthdays and years and all of that in there. So now you have to prove, are they his parents or are they not his parents? So question everything. Look for evidence to prove or disprove the theory, because you've got your question is your theory. Now we're going to prove it or disprove it. So find the evidence to do that. Be open to alternative explanations. Yeah, maybe they were adopted. That's why you can't find a birth record. You never know. Learn about the historic context and social norms. This is where I love history, watching history programs and things. Not only do I watch, I usually watch it from the context of, oh, my ancestors came from that area, so I want to learn more about that area, which is a great thing to do, because then I can understand more of what was going on during the time. What was the political climate like? What was their everyday life like? All these sort of questions that will come up. And was it the norm for a 16-year-old girl to be married? Was that normal? You got to find out the context at the time. And don't let wishful thinking cloud your judgment. Oh, I really wish this was the right person, because then this, then there's all these trains of events, and this leads back to this one here, and da-da-da-da-da. No. Question everything, prove or disprove it. Makes a big, big difference. And making assumptions can really, really screw up your family tree. Okay. Now, in Ancestry and in MyHeritage and what's the other one? Family Tree Maker, there is a notes area. So you can put in the notes that you found information that may or may not be correct for this particular person. So use that notes section to put things in there. Like, we found this marriage record, not sure if it's them or not. But this is where you put the link there as to where you found that information, so you can go back and question it later on, because it could be later on that you've got like 4 different marriage records that could possibly be this couple. So which one is it? And so you've got to do your research. Who are the parents? What children did they have? Which couple did they come from? There is one of the U.S. Census. It asked how. There's one on one of the U.S. Census, and I can't remember which one. It asks how long they'd been married. I think it was like 1930 or 1940, I want to say that was. How long they'd been married. And another one, it asked them what year they got married in, which is, again, great information. It helps you narrow down the fields. But question. Always question everything. Census reports. These are one of these documents that's like, I really wish the information on here was 100% accurate. They're kind of the bane of our existence. They can, the enumerators made mistakes by what they were hearing. And if the people were illiterate and couldn't read or write, they may not have known how to spell their name. So it was up to the enumerator to spell it as it sounded to them. It could be the heavy accents that they were listening to meant that the mistakes were made in ages, in names, in occupations, things like that. So you've got those. Then you also have the transcribers who make a mistake because they don't, and it's on some census reports, I will admit it is very hard to transcribe some of the things in there, because it's like it could be this one or it could be that one. It could be Smith, it could be Smythe, it just depends. And so you've got to actually, this is another thing I was going to say with translating. When you are transcribing a document, look at the other letters around there. Like if you're like thinking, well, is this supposed to be a number or is it a word? Is it an A or is it an E? Find other words that you can very clearly read, whether it's an A or an E, and compare the shapes. Are they the same? That book goes into all of that sort of stuff. So transcribers make mistakes as well. And then your ancestors may have given false information. For whatever reason, they decided they didn't want the government knowing about them, so they may have given false information. They may have misspelled the names. They may have given the wrong birth dates. Yeah. So sometimes our ancestors may have been in hiding for some reason, or just for whatever reason decided, I'm not going to give you the information you want. I'm going to make it all up. Yeah, you never know. And again, you don't know who was giving the enumerator the information. Was it somebody who lived in the house? Was it the head of the house? Was it the wife? And here's another assumption you don't make. When you see a husband and a wife, like the husband has the head, the woman's name next to it has wife, which means that she is related to the husband as his wife, and then they have a list of children underneath. Careful. Those children may not be hers. She may not be the mother of those children. He could be on his second marriage, and those are his kids from his first marriage. So watch for that too. Just because it's got the husband and the wife, all the children underneath may not be his, may not be her. Well, actually, it will be his because it says if it's son, stepson, daughter, stepdaughter, son-in-law, daughter-in-law, all of that sort of stuff. If that's written in there, how they're related to the head of the house, then you know how they're related to the head of the house. But you don't know how they're related to the wife. She may or may not be their mother. I have come across instances like that too. And that was when the age thing came in and watching the numbers, because I was looking at this going, there's 13 years between mother and son. And I suddenly thought, I wonder if she was even the mother. Maybe he's been married before, because he was quite a bit older. And I thought, I wonder if he's been married before. So I started researching. All of a sudden I put everything on hold until I sorted out this, because it was in a census report. And the other census reports kind of had from anywhere from 8 to 13 years between the mother and between the wife and the son that was listed. And it turned out that he was the husband, the head of the house, was actually married before, and his first wife had died. So he ended up getting married again to this younger girl, and they ended up having a child together. But the son, for the father, was not her son. Watch the numbers. Yes. So when you're navigating the census report and everything else, cross-reference with other sources. What other sources do you have that support that information or disprove that information? Be aware of common transcription errors. Yes, they are there. They are always look at the original images and not just the transcripts, because sometimes and there's a way in Ancestry that you can there's a make a correction button down over on this side over here. Can't remember what it's called. And you can click on that and you can put in there what you think the actual spelling of that name is. And then when somebody else comes and looks at that record later on, there'll be the spelling that has been transcribed. And then underneath, there'll be this whole bunch of names with the square brackets around them where people have said, no, this is this person, this is this person, this is this person. So yeah, be aware of that. So always look at the originals as well. And this is how I have found a lot of misspellings on some ancestor records, especially on client stuff where I've been looking and I'm going, let me try a spelling variation, because they've got to be on the census. They have to be on the census. I mean, the one 10 years before they were living at this address, the one 20 years later, they're living at the same address. There's got to be, so you've had to, it's very difficult to go through. It's hard, and they've got to be in here somewhere. And then I found them with a completely different spelling going, well, that ain't that. I found the right address because that's where they were 10 years before, and that's where so maybe they were still in that place in the 20 years ago, they were at the same address. 10th year, thinking they might be at the same address. Let's see if we can prove it. And what was transcribed and what was actually handwritten, I'm like, somebody needed new glasses. I didn't even have mine on, and it was glaringly obvious to me that whoever had transcribed that information, I don't know what they were thinking. But yes, so look for those. Consider reasons for misinformation. It could be age, it could be vanity, especially when it comes to ages. The woman didn't want to be put in at 32. She still wanted to be 28. So you'll find, I tell you, they did it. They did it. And use the census records as clues, not the gospel truth. Yes, they are clues, not the gospel truth. And they are good. Yeah. In the article, the author of the article put here, sorry, but great-grandpa probably wasn't actually 150 years old in 1880, unless he was, in which case, what was his secret? This guy's written an awesome article with these things in here. Okay, photographs. And who is actually in the photographs. And mislabeling photographs can mess things up. There's a picture that I have of my third great grandmother who was either Scottish or Irish. We haven't been able to determine which, but she was in Ireland when she had my second great grandmother, and she was married to an Irishman. And there's this picture that's been floating around in the family that has said, this is my third great grandmother. And then this one guy gets in there and he actually sent me a message through the Ancestry messaging system. And he basically just blasted everything out. This is not this person, is this person here, and blah, 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 blah. And he just basically pulled the whole picture apart. And all it was a woman sitting on a chair, and it was labeled that this was the name of my third great grandmother. And he said, that is not her. This has been a misnomer for a number of years. There's a lot of copies of this picture out there. It's not actually her. This is actually who is in that picture. And you can tell this by blah. And he basically pulled the picture apart by what she was wearing and her hairstyle and the type of chair she was sitting on. Everything in the photograph was a clue as to when that photograph was actually taken. And there is a really good book, and I couldn't find my copy of it, but there's a really good book that looks like that handwriting book, where you can actually tell by the photograph when the picture was taken. You can actually narrow down the time period in which it was taken based on what they were wearing in the photograph, what is around them, and if it's an outdoor picture, if it's an indoor picture, what's the decor like, what's the furniture that they're sitting on, and if you can see their shoes, even down to their shoes, and the hairstyles, if they have beards or not. Everything in the picture is a clue as to when in time it was taken. So you can narrow it down to within, maybe within the year it was taken, especially if you have a baby in the picture and you know that baby ain't a year old yet. It looks more like a newborn. You can narrow it down pretty much, especially if you know who that baby is and when they were born. So learn to date photos by clothing, hairstyles, and photographic techniques as well. How was the picture taken? Label everything, but not with Sharpies on the back of a photograph. Use archive-safe pens and pencils. My thing is, any photograph you take, who, when, and where are the basic 3 pieces of information you need to put on every photograph. Who is in the picture, where was it taken, and when was it taken, because that will help. Also, scan and digitally label photographs as well. Got a great program for that, where you can scan it, put it into the cloud, and it's a permanent cloud assigned to you. Nobody else has access to that private cloud. And so you can upload your photographs in there. I do this for my clients as part of the program, part of the fee that they pay. They get this account for free. They get up to 2 gigs. Any documents I find, any pictures I find, I put them in there. I make an album for each person, and all the documentation for those people get put in there. And I can put in one marriage certificate, but link it to 2 different albums. And cross-reference with other family photos and documents. One thing I love about the naturalization document, it's a very revealing document because it will put it back when? Back in the 1800s, into the early 1900s, if a woman came in with her husband and her husband applied for citizenship, she and her children automatically became citizens underneath him. And then there was a time period too, if an American woman married somebody from another country, she lost her US citizenship and became a citizen of his country. What other thing? There's just weird things like this. But the cool thing about the naturalization certificate is the applicant at the bottom, it would have a photograph of who the applicant was. So if you didn't have any other photographs of this person, that was there on that documentation. And the documentation had their full name. It had where they were born, when they were born, if they were married, the full name of their spouse, where the spouse was, where she was born, when she was born. It'll have her birth date in there, her place of birth, when and where they got married. And then if they have any children that came over with them, the names of the children with their birth dates and where they were born. So some were born overseas, some were born months after they arrived to the US. So this is the family. So naturalization things are great for that. And you'll find that most of the ones I've found, there's a picture of the applicant on there as well. So cross-referencing with other family photos and documents. So that gave me a very good picture because it's like a passport picture. I've been able to identify that person in other photographs. But be cautious with inherited photo identifications because whoever labeled them may have made a mistake too. And I don't actually have the albums, but I did take photos from the albums. We found these 2 albums that was from my mother-in-law's maternal side of the family. No, her paternal side of the family. And I can tell by the handwriting that she had put this, that she had gone through and put the names of every person underneath every photograph, but not when they were taken because she didn't know. She could have guessed, but she didn't. We found it after she had passed away, which was kind of a bummer because I would love to have sat down and gone through the photographs with her. So yes, be cautious with photographs. Even if they come to you labeled, question them. If it's the person who actually took the photograph, you could probably take it almost as gospel that they've got the right people and the right date. Almost, not quite, but definitely identify the people who are in the photograph. Ask other relatives. Do you know who's in this picture? Do you know who's in this picture? It's interesting to see, will they all say the same thing or will you get some that are different? There's a good one for you. Sometimes you'll get them all saying the same thing and sometimes they'll go, no, that's not great Uncle Robert. That's his brother. They looked alike. I know when my mum and her sister stand next to each other, they could almost be twins. They look very much alike. So sometimes when I'm looking at old family photographs with my mum and her sisters in it, I have to look to see, all right, who is the taller child? Because my mum was always taller than her sisters to a point. Okay, source citation slip-ups. Oh my gosh. Source citations, it needs to be done. Everybody knows they should do it, but not everybody does. Cite your sources, all of them, every single one, even the ones you think that you'll remember. The cool part with when you're on Ancestry is it automatically puts all the site information there that cites the source for you. Because if you attach a document to that person's profile, they bring along all the source information of this was taken from this particular record on this day, and it's got everything written. It's got the whole citation thing written out for you. But there are times that you are going to have to go and do your own citations. And the cool thing is, and if you can remember this will help you a lot, is cite as you go. As you go, write down the citations. Where did I get this information? What website was I on? What book was I looking at? What magazine was I looking at? What newspaper article was I looking at? Even if you're on newspapers.com or the other ones too, they also cite the information for you as well. They will but double check it just to make sure that you've got the right thing. I'm always looking at the thing. Okay, when was this published? And I check the top of the newspaper to see the published date to make sure it matches up. Is it the same newspaper? Yes, that matches up. Okay, we're on the right path. And are we on that page? Yes, we're on that page. So you're basically checking the citations as well. So always check them. Don't take them as gospel because there could be a slip up in there somewhere along the way. I found one. So cite as you go. If you don't know how to cite, let's see, I'm going to have to pick up these books. These are the 2 books that I recommend for how to cite your sources. This one, Evidence Explains, covers like everything from citing history sources, from artifacts to cyberspace. This one's more on the documentation side. This is more citing documentation. This is citing everything. And I mean everything. Down to artifacts. Go for that. Go figure that one out. So yes, so do that. Use a consistent citation form. I don't know if I actually have one here. Let me check real quick. Because I did have a book that I do they have? They have an online, let's see, Family Tree Magazine brought out this really good book. It's got all these different forms in there that you can open into a PDF and you can copy the forms and they have them so you can fill them in online, which is really cool. All right, it has a source documentation guide. It's 2 pages, but it's got on here, if you've got a family Bible, what is the title of the Bible? It could be like green. This one here says Green White Crumb Family Bible. Who was the publisher of it, and the location repository. So this was actually at a person's place in Minnesota. That person. Then the book, you got cemetery markers in here, census records, just the very common stuff that you're going to be looking at is on this 2-page document, which is very easy to carry with you. Oh, yes, they do. Okay. It's called a research extract. So this research extract up here has the file number and family, the repository that it's in, the call number or the microfilm number, description of the source, whether it's indexed, what condition is it in, and the date that you were there with it, and the time period and name search and the search objective. And then you have spaces down here to write your findings on there. And this is just an extract. It's not doing a transcription of the entire thing. It's just pulling out the relevant information. Like when I read an obituary, I want the name of the person that died. I want their age. If their birth date is listed, I'll take that as well. And that they were survived by, and I will put survivors, and then I'll put the spouse's name if it's there, the children's names, it's there in the order it's written, because 9 times out of 10 in an obituary, if you've got children listed, it is in the order in which they were born. If there is, Sally and John Smith, then you know that Sally got married to John. The child comes first with their spouse second. Or sometimes they'll put Sally in parentheses, put John, and then Smith as the last name. So you know that Sally got married to John Smith. If the boys are there, they'll have their name first with their wives' names. And then they may have grandchildren listed. They may have nieces and nephews listed. So I'm just pulling out all of that relevant information. I don't care about all the wishy-washy stuff that's in between. I just want to hear the children. Who's who they got married to? Here are the name of the grandchildren. I don't know who they belong to, but usually they're written in the order of the grandchildren's. Some of them will do them in the order of the grandchildren's birth. Some of them will do them in the order of their parents' birth, so that you know which ones get clumped together if you know the family. If you don't know the family, it's a shooting match. It's a crapshoot. So citations as you go. This is a great thing for doing this on, because you can put the website in here. This is actually Ancestry.com's form, but you can put all the site information goes on here, so it makes it easier to go back and do the citation. The information is there. Basically, the information is there. Let's see. Use a consistent citation form. Include enough information to relocate the source. The citation, this is the importance of the citation. It means in 100 years from now, your great-great-grandchildren are researching the thing. They go, oh, I wonder where they found a copy of that. The citation is written there. They can go back to that and they can basically go back to that record, because here's all the information for it. May the repositories have changed? Yes. But if they can locate the book or the records, then they know exactly where in that particular volume, what volume that information is in, that certificate, and what page number it's on. So if they can find the volumes, especially if the place is moved, then they're good to go. Cite even when you're just browsing. And the reason you do that is because when you're browsing, as part of your research log, is that you're then putting, did you find it? You're putting there yes or no, whether you found any information that was relevant. Because you might go back and it's like, oh, I think I've done this one before. Now you go to your citation thing, says, yes, I've already done this one. I don't need to do that one again. So it's making sure that you're not tumbling over things. And use genealogy software to help manage your citations. Ancestry is great for it too. You can even add in sources. Like if you've got a copy of the marriage certificate, you can go and put that information in and put in the information of the marriage certificate, where you got it from, and blah, 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 blah. Yes, and your future generations, including yourself, well, thank you for taking the time to write the citations. I know it is one of those things that people say, I didn't do a lot of citations on manual stuff. And now I'm regretting the fact that I did, because now I'm having to go back and fill that information in. And it is a huge pain to do it. But now I am more conscious of doing the citations. All right, where are we at? All right, we're at 45 minutes. So that's it for today. We're going to come back tomorrow and we're going to finish off with, let's see, we finished off with number 8. So we've got 9, 10, and 11 that we're going to do tomorrow. And yeah, we're going to do 9, 10, and 11 tomorrow as part 3. Part 3. We're going to do part 3 tomorrow, which will be the last 3 out of the 11 common mistakes that genealogists make, or just the hobbyist makes. So with that, we are out of here. Go out, have a super fantastic sparkling evening. Tomorrow evening, I will be on at 6:30 Pacific. Yes, 6:30 Pacific time tomorrow night, because I have my the other week class on tomorrow night. And don't forget that we're getting close to Christmas. Need last minute Christmas gift. They're selling if you buy the 3-hour certificate, you get 6 hours. If you buy the 5-hour certificate, which is the Voyager package, you get 10 hours. And there's a whole bunch of benefits that go with it. Scan the code there to go see what you get with each package. And we can actually send you an e-certificate so that you've got it there while we send out the physical certificate, because the physical certificate will actually come in an envelope of this size, a decorated envelope. Oops. Dental cleaning. Sure. And you'll have a card on there. This is the picture that comes on the front of the envelope. It's got it on the back too. And then inside it tells you what package they've purchased, and this is all the bits that you get with it. And then it actually has the gift certificate down here and the QR code to scan to schedule their meeting. And it has our new logo. I'm going to send myself a new one of these. Do you think I'll go do that? I'll go do that after this. Go send myself a new one. So I've got the new logo on there. But that will yeah, so if you need the e-version, because there's no way I'm going to get the other one to you in time for Christmas, we can send you a copy of the certificate, an electronic copy of the certificate, which will look like the inside of that card. And that way you've got something that you can put under the tree for them. And then a few days after Christmas, they'll get the actual envelope in the mail. So go check that out. Remember, the Explorer package is normally 3 hours. You pay for 3 hours, you get 6. And the Voyager package is normally 5 hours, but pay for the 5 hours, you get 10 hours of research. And that's us doing research for you. If you scroll down a little further, we have the Navigator package, which is somebody who is doing the research, but they need some guidance along the way. We have that package available too. So you've got 2 different packages where we will do the research for you, and you have one package where we will guide you through the process. So with that, we are out of here. We'll be back on tomorrow night at 6:30 p.m. Pacific, and we will do